Proudman and Dayman started out as a very simple summary traffic offence, where the defendant was alleged to have permitted an unlicensed driver to drive her car. Somehow that very minor offence ended up in front of the High Court. Mrs. Proudman argued that she had believed the other person was properly licensed to drive, and that because she acted in this belief, she was not guilty of a criminal offence. In the High Court, Justice Dixon said, as a general rule, an honest and reasonable belief in a state of facts which, if they existed, would make the defendant's act innocent, affords an excuse for doing what would otherwise be an offence. That statement is now one of the most commonly quoted statements in our criminal law, but there's a little bit to unpack. First up, the belief has to be both honest and reasonable. If it's not reasonable to believe in a certain state of facts, then it doesn't matter how honest the belief is. Reasonable, in this sense, has its usual legal meaning. It's an objective test, so the court asks, would an ordinary, reasonable person have believed in the state of affairs? Second, the Proudman and Dayman defence only works for a mistake of fact. It doesn't work for a mistake of law. This is one of those areas in which the distinction between facts and law becomes crucial. Believing something is lawful and learning that it is unlawful does not help you. Ignorance of the law truly is no excuse. Third, it's not the case that any old mistake of fact will obtain an acquittal. The facts which the defendant honestly and reasonably believes to be true, if those facts were true, then it would have to be the case that no offence was committed. So the defendant must have an honest and reasonable belief in a factual scenario which would exonerate them. Finally, Justice Dixon also stated that the burden of raising the defence falls on the defendant. Once the defendant raises the defence and shows the basis of their honest and reasonable belief, the prosecution can then try to knock it over. In Proudman and Dayman, Mrs. Proudman was not able to convince the Court of Appeal or the High Court that she honestly and reasonably believed the driver held a licence. She failed in her appeal, but the defence lives on.